This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now, on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries, and powered by the law offices of Pond, Lehocky, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor, live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. A good Saturday evening, Delaware Valley, and thanks very much for tuning in to the big show tonight. We're here live every Saturday from 7 to 8 p.m. We're all presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries. We thank all of our listeners for tuning in. We've got a big show and a big lineup planned for you tonight. But first, we introduced the former business manager of the Philadelphia Building Trades, who's sitting in for John Doherty tonight, and he joins us live here in the studio. We welcome Pat Gillespie into the show. Pat, a good Saturday to you, sir.
Thanks, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here. The circumstances of my presence are sad. John is still dealing with that family health issue, and I hope everyone keeps him in their prayers.
We ask all of our listeners, as Pat said, J-Doc, to hold tightly to prayer for John as we roll on with the big show.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. Thoughts and prayers going out to the family of John Doherty, and just going through a major health crisis there. So many well-wishers, and we want him to know and them to know we're thinking about them.
All right, good stuff. We'll set the table and we'll do the lineup for you. We've got a big show lined up for you tonight over the next 60 minutes, so stay with us right here on Talk Radio 1210. Coming in and celebrating National Cheesesteak Day yesterday, J-Doc, and as all of our listeners have it's starting to become this ritual where before we start each program, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the program, we have an opportunity to enjoy, and today was certainly a real treat from Mama's in Ballackinwood. Great stuff. You had an opportunity to sample, which might be, J-Doc, the best cheesesteak in the Delaware Valley, and that's saying something.
It was incredible. I mean, it was funny because I stopped by to pick them up. They knew I was running late for the show, so they had everything ready to go, and certainly I just want to say out loud on the air, unbelievable cheesesteak, fantastic.
Unbelievable. I called Mama's this afternoon, and I remember how good Mama's is. I remember how good it was. I'm like, we've got to get Mama's into the circulation. Pat, I know you didn't sample the cheesesteak. Yours is going with you when you walk out of the studio. You're in for a treat.
You guys enjoyed them so much, I think you should whack that one up. I'm trying to stick with apples. I'm retired, and I have to watch my caloric intake. I don't want to.
Well, Pat, I can tell you this: every week I start my diet, and it goes awry on Saturday night, and tonight was no exception. Just incredible.
Special thanks to Mama's for providing the great cheesesteaks for Saturday Night Live right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Big show lined up for you tonight. Mayor Kenney will join us. We'll get into conversation specifically tonight, Pat, about the soda tax. What does it mean? The city now has collected their first 2 months of revenue, and we'll get some initial thought on that.
Well, from me, you want some thought now?
Yeah, I'll take some thought while we wait
I
for
don't
the
want
mayor.
to preempt the mayor, but this is one of these issues where you elect a person to do a job, to be the mayor of the city of Philadelphia, or to be the councilman or commissioner in the counties, and you expect them to do that job. Kenney embraced the job, saw an opportunity to get some needed revenue for some major issues. One was preschool education, which has proven, I mean, there's volumes of documents that say that if you can get kids into school early, they'll be better performing citizens. There'll be more productivity. There'll be less jail. There'll be less draconian things. So he embraced this idea with the tax, with a sugar tax or the soda tax. You would have thought he was trying to peddle cancer. I mean, people came after him from all over the place. Now, I'm happy to see that it's a successful revenue generator. I'm happy to see that there's more sales that they had even anticipated. So that means it's working, because God knows there are plenty of projects and plenty of demands for revenue in the city. I just abhor the people who run around and they don't want to. They want to take advantage of everything that society provides for them, the government provides for them, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay taxes. Everybody pays tax, and that's a malady that is impacting not just Philadelphia, but it's the seminal point around healthcare these days. It's every major issue. You know, our infrastructure is going to hell in a handbasket. You know, people just don't want to pay. We had to pull teeth to get 3 or 4 years ago to get a gas tax. Now, you would have thought when we're trying to get that passed for infrastructure repair. Did I do something wrong? Did I touch something?
No, you're good. You're good.
They're making me nervous here, Arlene. I don't know. I know my wife is listening. I know, because she's my biggest fan. I know it. So anyway, so we had to go up, and you would have thought, again, the controversy around, no, sure, we're paying taxes now, but at least we're getting some roads fixed, and we need more money. You know, we need better infrastructure. We need better mass transit. We need better grid construction. You know, we need gas lines done. We need all these things have to be done.
J-Doc, before you weigh in, hold your thought for just a second. Tone, one of the outspoken critics who has spoken out against this tax is Jeff Brown. Tone, roll that clip for me. This is John Doherty 2 weeks ago talking about Jeff Brown. Time now for John Doherty's last word.
Yeah, listen, I have to disagree with my good friend Dom Giordano here tonight. He's been talking about the soda tax, and he's been talking about a guy by the name of Jeff Brown. They're talking like he's like some superstar. Basically, he's a spoiled brat. Okay, here's a guy that has got millions of dollars of RCAP money, okay, which is basically state taxes. Then, as recently as yesterday, he put in for a loan at PIDC, another city organization, quasi-state organization that gives low-interest loans. Okay, this guy, when the soda tax went through, he decided to play union against union. He decided to raise the prices across the board. He decided to make a political statement because he put a lot of money into a political fight with the mayor, and he lost.
And that's John Doherty's last word here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, certainly, you know, the taxes exceeded expectations. It's working. And like Pat said, you know, first of all, you just don't walk outside your house and, you know, the trash gets picked up. You got to pay for it. And, not everything is, is painless, but I can tell you this. Certainly when you're talking about childhood care and early education, like Pat said, there's results that change lives. And so it wasn't an easy thing for the mayor to get this through. There was a lot of noise, but I have to commend him. The results are exceeding expectations. And like Pat said, they just don't pay for themselves.
The revenue came out, Pat, or the story came out where the revenue has exceeded the expectation. 2 months in. That tells me that things are working.
Well, yeah, the opposition. Oh, well, this will be the end of the world. We won't be able. This is horrible. Now, look, it is a struggle, and we should be grateful that people are embracing it and delivering that kind of revenue. That should be appreciated, and it should be appreciated, and that make sure that every one of those dollars isn't wasted. Like you have to perform. There's obligations on all sides here, but the folks who seem to be like their ox is getting, we're going to lose this, and it just never materialized. And the one fellow, I didn't hear that clip. I don't know whether my earphones or what John said about that fellow. He's a prominent figure in our community. I mean, he hires people and he does a lot of things now. He's I understand he's doing a little non-union stuff too, which is kind of bad, but and awful. But he and hopefully he sees a better way of doing it with union employees. But to say that, oh, this will be the end of my world. They get so dramatic about it, and they work people up. They work the community up against it, and they ran. I forget what the budget was, but it was in the millions. The anti this tax, and they were on television and call your councilman, and you got to award city councils too. Bobby Heenan and those guys stood up, and they were hard votes to make. It's a difficult thing, and I guess maybe it should be difficult to raise revenues. But there should be some realistic.
It's necessary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's absolutely necessary to do it. I mean,
like I said, we elect people to do this, and I don't know what they have to be a missionary, pretty much, to become the mayor of the city, to become a councilman. The problems are tremendous. They're confronted with every day.
Let's try and jump in and get a caller in who's joining us here on Saturday Night Live. Jane from New Jersey jumping in, who references she's in agreement with the soda tax. Jane, welcome to Saturday Night Live. With John Doherty sitting in for John is Pat Gillespie. A good Saturday evening to you.
My life. I've never been in a union in my life, but I thank God for unions because that's how I made a good wage. My point for the sales tax or for the soda tax, is that Kenney is doing it for a reason.
Oh.
And it is a good reason. And at first, I have to say I was a little bit against it. It's a lot of money. But I agree with Jeff Brown, because I heard him on that other guy's show, and you would have thought the man walked on water. But he wasn't portraying the tax the way it really is. There's no tax on milk. There's no tax on other things that aren't sugared. And he made it look like if I went to the store for milk for my baby, I couldn't afford it. And I just think that the mayor is doing what he has to do, and I think they do need a preschool in Philadelphia. And I don't understand why the people that never want to pay for anything get so much from the government anyway, but don't want to admit it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Agree. I mean,
it gets so old after a while. They don't like Mayor Kenney. That's fine. They didn't get the 8th grade award. That's fine. But we need to help Philadelphia. And I myself am upset with Pepsi because Pepsi's not selling the 2-liter bottles. You know why they're not selling the 2-liter bottles? Because they make more profit on smaller quantities, on the smaller bottles. And, it's not to help the people in Philadelphia. It's so that they can make up the difference by making a bigger profit on the smaller bottles of soda. We all know. I mean, did we just fall off the turnip truck?
Jane from New Jersey checking in. Jane, thanks very much. Mayor Kenney now joining us on the hotline. Following up, Mayor Kenney here on Saturday Night Live as we come to you on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Mayor Kenney, a good Saturday evening, sir. How are you?
How you guys doing?
Great, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad to have you on the program. Certainly, we're talking about the soda tax, and we've had 2 months in. Projections have exceeded expectations.
Yep.
Tell us your take.
Well, I mean, the argument that sales are down 40% certainly flies in the face of the fact that we collected more tax in the last 2 months than we expected. So, I mean, either someone's not telling the truth here. Our numbers are clear that we've collected more than we projected. If sales are down 40%, I don't know how that would be possible. So, I recognize it's an inconvenience and it's something that nobody wanted to do. But the fact of the matter is that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania does not provide adequate funding for thorough and efficient education for our kids. I don't want to raise real estate tax every year. And this is something we thought would be something that people could choose. It's a choice. You're not forced to buy soda, and you don't need soda to live. So if you buy a little less and you pay a little more, you'll probably be healthier in the long run, and our kids will get a pre-K opportunity that they need in order for them to succeed in this very technological world. Because we have kids getting, by the time they're in 3rd grade, if they can't read at grade level, the odds of them graduating high school is little to none. By 7th and 8th grade, they can't read, so they're acting up because they're embarrassed. And by 9th and 10th grade, they stop showing up. They wind up going to the corner, and hustling for a living, and they wind up, God forbid, dead or in jail, or at least with an unfulfilled life. And what we're trying to do is give them an opportunity to raise themselves out of poverty. And to change the narrative of poverty in the city, which is at a high of 25%, the highest it is in any major city in the country. And there's a price to be paid for that poverty. It's called prison. It's called having to prosecute people. It's called drug addiction and drug treatment. It's the Department of Human Services and dysfunctional families. And there's a whole litany of things that come about as a result of an individual not having an adequate education to take a job in the world that pays a living wage.
Mayor Kenney joining us here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty. In for John Doherty tonight is Pat Gillespie. We're live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Mayor Kenney, I'm not sure I'm actually even allowed to do this, but I would love for you to just stay on the line with us, if you will. I've got to take a short break. I'm up against the break. I'll ask you to stay on. We'll continue our conversation with Mayor Kenney when we come back.
Original news stories, podcasts, columns from your favorite hosts, and more. Interact 24/7 at Facebook.com/1210WPHT.
I won't participate on behalf of ourselves here at Local 98 or the Philadelphia Building Trades in conversations that are purely dominated on social issues that don't affect our jobs.
Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty. Pat Gillespie sitting in for John Doherty tonight, presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries. We're also powered by Pond, Lehocky, Stern, and Giordano. Unmistakable, the workers' compensation law firm. Mayor Kenney joining us here on Saturday Night Live. Mayor, thanks very much for staying with us as we continue with our conversation about the soda tax.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to applaud your efforts in raising that money. And if I'm a little hesitant, it's really hard for me to say nice things about you, but that's an inside joke between he and I. But
they said you were on tonight because you have a face for radio.
That's it, yeah, and I'm dressed for it too. I think I have two different socks on. I'm retired. but in all seriousness, I wanted to applaud getting this revenue stream for early education and the other ancillary things that you're doing with the funds was almost Herculean, you know. And you had all the naysayers jump up and all the people whose perceived ox was going to be gored. Well, yeah, and I don't want to dismiss the contribution that people are making towards this, and people are actually buying the product and knowing full well that they're making that should be applauded, and we should thank them. And you should just, you know, rather than go after the detractors of it, we should ask them, look, come up with some other ideas too, because this certainly isn't the end of the revenue stream need. You know, and I know that drives conservatives crazy because they want everything for free, or they want somebody else to pay the tax, and not just have all the working guys pay the tax. They have all the money. I think that's
well,
what they suspect.
The right wing conservatives don't have to drive themselves crazy; they can walk there.
God bless you. Yeah.
Right. And Mr. Mayor, you know,
yes.
when you know, of course, you know the general public is contributing when they purchase their sodas. But tell me what the corporate responsibility has been in this, and what the reaction. I mean, you get major multi-billion-dollar corporations like Pepsi. Tell me what their contributions have been, number one, and number two, what the reactions are.
Well, the problem is you have a company like Pepsi Cola that posted a $35 billion gross sales last year and a $6 billion profit, whose CEO, and God bless her, it's a woman, so we're not talking about pay equity here, she makes $25 million in the base. So, and they spent about $11 million fighting the tax and a couple $100,000 a month in lobbyists and lawyers. And to take that out on a guy working at a bottling plant, to me, is a bit ridiculous. We've heard a rumor also that Coca-Cola is going to invest $40 million, instead of moving out of the city, are going to invest $40 million in their plant in Philly, and that may have to do with automation. And what I'm worried about is, you know, the impact of automation and the potential layoffs there, and giving them an excuse to blame the beverage tax on laying people off. I don't want to see anybody get laid off, but if they're getting laid off because of automation and not because of the beverage tax, I think it's fair to say that's what it is.
Sure.
I just look, I don't discount the fact that people are concerned about their jobs, and I also think that the companies, as large as they are, have been using their employees as pawns in many ways by scaring the bejesus out of them by saying they're going to go. You have to remember, these companies, not only do they sell Pepsi and Coke, they sell a myriad of products, 30, 40 different products, that's all hauled by that same teamster. So if people are drinking less sugar-sweetened beverage and they're drinking more water, they own the water companies too. So it's the same stuff. It's the same amount of stuff that's being hauled. It just may be a different product selection.
Mayor, let me ask you, follow up with that and ask you how you would respond to, there are critics who will say, and we have a caller waiting on the line to join us, not join this conversation, but they will not drink soda in the city limits. They disagree with the tax. How do you answer them?
Well, we had the same issue with the cigarette tax, because you have to understand, if the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the state legislature would provide money to educate our kids through the personal income tax, which is not a regressive tax, but it's a tax that pays as you go, but they don't want to raise that. So we wind up having to find areas of revenue like gaming, for example, like the beverage tax, for example, or other fees and the like to make up for their lack of interest in funding education. Republicans in Harrisburg and in Washington are raising any kind of taxes is anathema to them. They don't want to do it, but they also want the same level of service that can't be provided because there's no revenue.
Jim, this is a great victory for you, and I think you should celebrate it as such. And just don't. I don't think we should. Let's look for more revenue sources that can be imaginative like this. And
Pat, but Jed, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Boy, I interrupted you. Did I interrupt him?
You did.
I did. Yeah, a little bit.
Boy,
not the first time.
Am I happy? I still got it. The point I want to make is that if the detractors, we're never going to bring them over by responding to their nonsense. Like the person isn't going to drink a soda and say, "Oh, gee, that's as nutty as it can get." But
we had similar situations with the cigarette tax where people were going to buy their cigarettes outside the city. And that happens for a little bit of the time.
When we were kids, that was a whole business. Used to get them from Virginia. But that was something else.
I don't want to go there.
There's a statute of limitations that's past it, Pat. Don't worry about it.
When they realized, though, that the inconvenience of getting in your car, driving from your home in South Philly over the bridge or out in Delaware County to buy soda to come back, I mean, it'll work for a month or so, but then people go back to their old buying habits.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I expected, and maybe I was a fool for expecting it, that the corporations would chip in and say, you know what, we're not going to make the consumer, take this completely on the chin. We'll jump in there because, like you said, Mayor, how many billion-dollar company Pepsi-Cola is? You'd think that maybe childhood education would mean something to them, and they might split the difference. But no such efforts, huh?
Well, how do you think they got so rich?
Bingo. No question. Well, listen, Mr. Mayor, we want to thank you so much for calling in and for doing the job that you're doing. We really appreciate it, and obviously thanks for calling in.
But let me say it's not just me. I mean, we had labor on our side in this fight. We had pre-K moms, we had Parks and Rec advocates, we had a whole slew of grassroots people, and don't forget City Council who voted 13-4 to pass this thing, which took some courage on their part because they were getting bombarded. So it was really a team effort. I just happened to be the mayor at the time.
Mayor, before you jump off the line, just a quick question: when does now that you're starting to collect the revenue, how does it then get started to get dispersed to the schools?
Well, what we did was we started 2,000 pre-K seats. We can't go above 2,000 until the lawsuit is settled. We have a definitive answer on what the court will rule, and that's going to take hopefully not longer than the end of the summer. So we're not doing as many. We're doing 9 community schools out of 25. We'll probably roll out 2 more community schools in September. We're going to hold fast at 2,000 pre-K seats, and we're not going to be able to borrow the money on the bond. We're not going to be able to borrow the money with the bonds to do the recreation and library renovations until we're out of the woods with the suit. But we think we will get there. We have a very strong case. The Common Police Court judge, threw their case out in its entirety. So we're hopeful that we'll get through this by the end of the summer and then really start to go full tilt.
Mayor Kenney.
Great job, Mayor.
Mayor Kenney.
My pleasure. Thanks, Pat.
Joining us here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Dougherty. Thank you, Mayor. Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Pat, you stand. Although you interrupted the mayor for just a second there, you stand in full support.
I'm proudly.
Yeah. No, we have a history. He and I. He used to refer to me when we were on opposite sides of issues a few years ago as a fat guy from the suburbs. And I resented that because I had lost weight.
It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Serious doctors for serious injuries. Stick around. We'll go into a commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with Saturday Night Live. Back in a moment.
Radio.com. Radio.com.
I believe there's room, okay, for the national building trades, the local building trades, to have partnerships with the Trump administration as it pertains to energy, as it pertains to infrastructure, as it pertains to the undocumented worker.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty, live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
All right, so if you want to follow us on Twitter, go to @myPhillyLabor and sign up there. You'll get alerts if you go to our website www.PhillyLabor.com.
All right, good stuff, J. Doc. Special thanks to Mama's out on Belmont Avenue, out in Bala Cynwyd. Well done, great stuff, great cheesesteak as we celebrate a day after National Cheesesteak Month. Coming up at 7:48 today, Attorney Adam Bonin will be along with us. We'll address the controversial 197th District Special Election. We'll have that one at 7:47 tonight. Let's roll through a couple of phone calls if we can here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty. Nick checking in on Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Nick from Springfield checking in. A good Saturday evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. I refuse to drink one drop of soda when I go out to eat in the city. And in fact, I bring soda and I pass it out to my friends who live there. I'm a smuggler, if you want to call me that. And this mayor, he's an evil man. He can go to hell. And you mark my words, he is going to lose the lawsuit.
Nick, how long did you wait on the line to say all that?
Yeah, we lost it. We lost him, Pat. But come on.
Well, here's my thought process. No, listen. No one likes to have to pay the extra money, no question about it. However,
Joe, wait, stop. People have embraced this. They're getting more revenue.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that.
No, so you can't pay attention to the Nixon. I mean, they're going to be against whatever. I mean, and if you respond to that kind of stuff, it's a wonderment. What the big story here is that people are buying soda to despite the tax. They're buying soda.
Mind you, Nick lives in Springfield. You hear Nick, he lives in Springfield. But I got your point. Point well made. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, doesn't anybody think, for 2 seconds think that...
We got another call. Let's get the other call.
Jeff. Do we have Jeff? We lost Jeff Allen from Drexel Hill joining us on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Alan, I certainly don't know how to answer your question, but thanks for calling in. How are you?
Well, you know what my question is, but I would like to have asked Mayor Kenney the same question, because when it comes to being asked to come on Dom Giordano's show, it's crickets. He's totally silent. But my other point of contention is, congratulations, Mayor Kenney. You just raised a lot of revenue from soda tax. So how much revenue are you going to be spending to defend the sanctuary city situation with all the global legal firms that are going to be involved? That's going to probably be revenue neutral.
Well, again, these are talking points that Don Giordano would love to run with, and I think Kenney has a position, and the city of Philadelphia has been a sanctuary city, and I'm not conversant enough on that issue. But I do know that the way we're helping immigrants assimilate into this country is a disgrace. I do know that people picking one side, one group is bad and another group is good, is going to deteriorate our society and not do any kind of societal good. So that's what I do know.
All right, it's Alan checking in from Drexel Hill. Let's get back to Jeff if we can now. Jeff checking in from Pennsylvania here on Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Jeff, welcome in to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the soda tax. The Constitution of Pennsylvania says all taxes are supposed to be uniform. And if you tax one drink because of sugar, then you should probably tax milk for the sugar in the milk too. Okay, it's not milk that So this gets into whether this is really uniform.
Well, they've raised enough revenue with just the tax on the sugar and the sodas and the other drinks.
Right.
But if they have to find but as far as that's concerned, this thing was vetted in the courts, and so far the city has been sustained. So
right. I'm just saying that I came up with another tax system that's really great. It's absolutely unique. And I came up with it, believe it or not, on December 7th, 2015. And it's actually copyrighted. And I try to give it to the city of Philadelphia, Puerto Rico, everybody. And it takes nothing to do. And it's a really simple tax. And it actually gets the rich to pay more voluntarily because you give them something back for paying more tax. And what you give them, I call it a do-it-yourself municipal bond. And it's actually copyrighted. And what it is people buy stocks all the time. And because of the Pennsylvania Constitution, they pay 3.07% on the dividend of the stock. But instead of paying 3.07%, you agree by contract with it when you do it that you're going to pay 20% of the dividend to the state or whatever municipal organization it is. And what you get back for doing that is the rest of the dividend comes back to you as a tax-free municipal interest.
Jeff, I don't mean to cut you off. I just can't digest all of that information in a short period of time. I appreciate you calling in and certainly appreciate the work behind all of that. Joe from Philadelphia, living right here in the city of Philadelphia, here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty. Pro soda tax caller, likes the tax. Joe, welcome to Saturday Night Live.
Hey, what's happening? I think the tax is working great. I think Dom the Christmas donkey, has been wrong for thing after thing after thing here with Trump and, the Russians and everyone else. I think the tax is going great. I think most of the
Joe, are you a soda drinker?
Am I a soda drinker? Yeah. I'm definitely a soda drinker. But again, there's other ways that, people can, because to me, ultimately, it's supposed to be the rich paying for it. And I think that's exactly what's happening. I think exactly what's happening is exactly what they wanted. People are going out to restaurants. The rich, mainly the people with the money, they're buying sodas. They're purchasing the sodas, and they're paying for the taxes. The poor, the people in the neighborhoods, they're buying powdered drinks. See, there's a way to get over everything. It's just that the media doesn't talk about it. The poor people aren't hurting. The poor people in the neighborhoods don't mind because they see the greater good. They see the greater cause. They see exactly what's going on with the city and exactly how it is needed and how it's being used. What it is all these radio talking points, for all I know, they could be Russians. But
all right, Joe,
don't kid about that, Joe.
Joe, you had me until that point. Well, listen, brother, thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor here on Talk Radio 1210. Obviously, the debate rolls on. Sure. 2 months into it, thanks to all of our callers, agree or disagree. Thanks very much for being a part of Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. Adam Bonin is here on the line with us. Let me introduce or bring Adam into the line and into the conversation. Adam will join us now, and then we'll take a short break and get back into the conversation about the Adam, would you classify it as the controversial 197th district? How would you classify that?
I think the path to get here was controversial, but what happened on Tuesday was pretty damn clear. Democrat who wasn't even on the ballot, who needed every single voter to write in to get him on the ballot, Emilio Vasquez, got almost 2,000 votes. Next person in line only got 280. And the Republican, the only candidate who was actually on the printed ballot, barely got 200 votes. That should not be controversial. That's a real testament to what grassroots organizing can do and how passionately people wanted to see a Democrat elected in that seat.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Adam, it's straight, Doc. First of all, how do we get in this situation? I mean, as Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania, and we're in a situation where we need as much representation as we can get, and we end up with a Republican on the ballot in a district that's 96% Democrat. How did that happen?
Well, what happened was this was a special election, so the party had the opportunity to nominate a candidate. It nominated community leader Frederick Ramirez, who has a number of mental health clinics in the neighborhood. He had been vouched for. He was very likable, very well known in the community. Republicans sued to kick him off the ballot because of a residency challenge, and because of some weird things that happened on the stand because of water bills that didn't show a lot of usage in the House.
So this issue was initiated by Republicans.
It was. This was Republicans trying to deny voters a choice on the
and
ballot.
now they're running around saying that something nefarious happened on Election Day it was such an overwhelming victory with the write-in candidate. I mean it should, we all should be heartened by that people. And we should applaud newly elected. Is it certified? It takes a couple of days to certify a write-in, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'll take a few days to certify. They'll have the official computation of the vote on Monday to make sure that they've done all their math.
So
and
I
after
would
that,
hope
it's
that
5
all of
days.
us who talk about this and who run into newspaper people and all, let them know that this was, in fact, initiated by. It was a special election, and there were special circumstances about, and it was embarrassing. The way the vacancy occurred, and it was troubling to a lot of people. But finally, when push comes to shove, we have someone who can assemble the grassroots, who can get so that's a positive sign for the 197th district and for the House of Representatives in Harrisburg.
Attorney Adam Bonin is on with us here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Adam, if you can hold for a few moments, we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll continue our discussion when we come back.
Making the complex understandable.
Weekdays noon till 3 on Talk Radio 1210.
I'm becoming out of step with them guys, okay? And I was a treasure of the Democratic Party. I've been a loyal Democrat my whole life. But I've told people, and it hasn't, like I told you, it just didn't resonate with this election. If you look at the last few years, I've been telling people we have to become a little bit more individual. We have to be more of our own brand. We have to do a better job at becoming a business.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty, live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Special thanks to Mayor Kenney for coming on the big show today, talking about the soda tax, the Dan Loney Show, following Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. More discussion on that topic and a lot more. Stay tuned for Dan Loney from 8 to 11. Adam Bonin is on the line with us, attorney Adam Bonin. Adam, thanks for holding on through the break here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Doherty. Pat Gillespie in for John this evening.
Pleasure to be talking to you guys. I just want to join you. My thoughts and prayers are so much with John and the Doherty family tonight, and just got to hope for the best here.
Well said.
Well, that's well done, and thanks, Adam, and keep up the good work there, and hopefully that we can avoid having the craziness occur that occurred up there in that legislative district.
Absolutely.
So you have to get people on their toes. That's all.
Have to keep people on their toes, and we have to keep fighting back against Republican efforts to deny people the right to vote for a candidate on the ballot.
Well,
and now
that's
the right
not
to have the
listen, that's
results
not
count.
exclusively Republican. I mean, and I don't want to defend Republicans. I think you put your organizations together and you run the ball. And if you fumble, then you fumbled. All right, this was a fumble. This was self-inflicted. We can't turn now. What the Republicans did do was they caused the chaos. They went to court. They threw a lot of crap in the game and then stood back. And I would imagine they're going to go and litigate this thing because they have too many lawyers. They don't know what to do with them. So they'll probably litigate it and make a mess. And we won't have a pleasant step off for the newly elected legislator. But that comes with the territory. But we should hold them accountable for that kind of mischief. All right, and you start being honest. You have to be honest with yourself when you look yourself in the mirror in the morning, but you have to be honest with other people too. You can't let them kick you in the ass all the time. Pardon me, I said ass. I'm sorry. That's John Doherty's fault. Blame that on Doherty.
Adam Bonin joining us here on Saturday Night Live. Adam, thanks very much, my friend.
My pleasure.
It's good stuff from Adam Bonin here on the Saturday Night Live show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. J-Doc, just a couple of minutes before we say goodbye. It was a quick 1 hour. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in and being a part of the big show. Absolutely.
I want a little shout out to Frank Keel, who was our host last weekend in place for John Doc.
Just tell him to get the hell up.
Yeah, I will. He just had his knee surgery. He's recovering, but it's going to be a while. But I know he's listening. And also I want to thank Pat Gillespie. It's been the honor of my lifetime sitting in this chair next to Pat Eiding, John Doherty, and now Pat Gillespie. Just amazing leadership. 150,000 union members in Philadelphia, and we get to sit next to the top three. Unbelievable.
All right, good stuff, J-Doc. And special thanks to you for going to Mama's. In Bala Cynwyd. Well done, and you have half a sandwich left for you before you leave tonight.
I just like to say this was a pleasure. I wish we had a little more time to talk about the Affordable Care Act and health care in general. As I stated earlier, there are 400,000 people in Pennsylvania in those exchanges who, quite frankly, don't know what their status is going to be, while half-assed politicians run around saying, I got you, or who got you, and it's a travesty. I do know that the insurance companies, the one insurance company that I'm associated with, is trying to figure out solutions. But I bet, just knowing different people, I bet you could take Brendan Boyle, Bob Brady, Pat Meehan, and Costello from Chester County, put him in a room, say, look, we have this problem, figure it out. That's 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. They could figure it out.
All right, good stuff from Pat Gillespie. Thank you very much for Pat for sitting in the big chair on behalf of our host, John Doherty, on behalf of J-Doc, and, of course, Pat Eiding, and Frank Keel for contributing to the big show. Tony behind the glass. Tony, well done on your part. For all of the listeners around the Delaware Valley, I'm Joe Krause. We'll see you next time.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.